Welcome to our session, Scribing 101. My name is Kendall Edmonds, and I am an AVA USEF Large R vaulting judge. And what I'm going to cover today in our scribing session is basically what is the role of the scribe. I really personally believe it's probably the most important volunteer position at a competition, and so it's very important that you understand the duties that you have signed up for. So the primary job of the scribe is to transfer score sheets and comments from the judge onto the score sheets accurately and timely. So if this is your first time scribing, I would plan on arriving about 15 minutes prior to the start of the competition so you can sit with the judge that you're going to be working with and understand their expectations. Each of us interacts with our scribe a little bit differently, and so this just gives you an opportunity to get some comfort before we get started. Some of the other things that we will cover today are some do's and don'ts while on the stand. I will show you examples of score sheets. I will also show you the comment key that is pulled from the rule book. And then when we're completed, if you have any questions, feel free to email me at thejudgescorner@gmail.com. Okay, some do's and don'ts. While you are on the stand, one of the first things that you will be asked to do is before each class starts, there will be a folder on the stand that will have every score sheet in it for that class. And so what I would like you to do is take out all of the score sheets and just make sure that the order that they are in is in the same order as the final printed order of go, which will be on the stand as well. When the vaulter enters the arena, check that the number matches the number that is listed on the score sheet. The vaulter must have their number on their right arm or their right leg. As you are, once the judging begins, make sure that each box has a score in it. If you have missed a score, ask the judge to repeat it right away. If you have missed a comment, that can be clarified after the vaulter finishes. After one or a group of vaulter goes, make sure that the judge signs those score sheets prior to them being sent into the scoring office. Some don'ts while we're on the stand. Don't talk to the judge during the performance unless it is for a missed score. Don't talk, text, take pictures or video on your phone while you are on the stand. And don't mention anything that was said on the stand to other parties, either parents, competitors, coaches, etc. First, we will look at some compulsory score sheets. This particular score sheet is for the copper, trot, and preliminary trot divisions. They would all do the same set of compulsories. The compulsory exercises are listed here on the left-hand side. And then the scores go into this box with the decimal point. So the scores are 0 to 10. So if a judge says 6.0, make sure you put 6 point and a 0 over on this side, just that it's very clear that it was a 6.0 and not something else. When the vaulters have completed their go and all the scores are in, this is where the judge would sign and just, hand it to the judge, and they will make sure that they sign each of them. From a math standpoint, the only thing you have to do as the scribe is to put a score into each of these boxes. The horse GI score, which is the last score that the judge will give, is down here in between this shaded one and the final score. So when it goes to the scoring office, what the scoring office will do is they will add up the compulsory exercises above, and they will put the total compulsory score in here. They will then add the horse GI score in the scoring office, which will give them the final compulsory score. So these shaded boxes, you as the scribe do not have to do anything with. One last thing on this smaller compulsory score sheet. So when the judge gives comments, on this smaller score sheet, you don't have a lot of room to write here, but this is where you would write the comments for any of the compulsory exercises in this area. Some standard comments that you might receive is NH -1, which means not held -1. So what you would do if you hear that from the judge is you're just simply going to write it in this area. This is going to take me forever, so NH, and then -1 is how that would look. We'll talk a little bit more about comments as we look at the other score sheet. For the rest of the compulsories for the individual classes, bronze, silver, and gold, it is a full-size piece of paper for the score sheet, so you just get a little bit more room to write. Again, what we'll have up here is all of the competition and vaulter information. This is for the judge's signature. And then when we look at the compulsory scores, the decimal point goes away, so you'll have to write that in, 6.2. But you have a lot more room for comments over here, and you can, take up as much of this space as you like. Again, when we look down here, we have the shaded box that you don't need to do anything with. The horse general impression score will go here, and then the scoring office will calculate scores into these two shaded areas. So that's what the balance of the individual score sheets look like. Next, we're just going to take a peek at a team score sheet because it is laid out a little bit differently. Okay, so for the team score sheets, again, you have general competition information up here. Judge's signature is here. But what happens is, since you can have 1 to 7 vaulters, which will be listed here, and what they do is they go in order of their number, 1 through 7, and they're going to do all of their compulsories at once. So what we have is we have vaulter 1, and then the compulsory scores go across the page for the team form. So you have a lot less room to write. For me personally, when I'm judging, I tend to give fewer comments in the team. There's a lot more going on. It happens quicker. But so somewhere in this box, and I would try to pick a similar area, is where you're going to put your score, 6.0. And then maybe you choose that you're going to write your comments above, just so that it's always kind of the comments are in the same place, and then the score is in the same place and has enough room and is clearly written. So that, again, the team score sheet just looks a little bit different. Same thing at the very end. The horse general impression score is going to go here, and then any of the shaded boxes you do not need to fill out. The scoring office will calculate and write in those numbers. The other thing that is slightly different for team compulsories is there is a time limit. So at the end, when the last vaulter finishes, the judge will stop the time, and then we just write the time, 4 minutes, 32 seconds in here. Okay, so this is taken directly from the AVA rulebook, and these are the comments that you are going to be given in compulsories. And primarily, these comments are used in compulsories. We will use some of the comments in the freestyle, but not as many. So again, this is going to be in the compulsory portion that you are hearing these abbreviations. If you review this, how they are listed in the rule book is alphabetically by the actual definition, not necessarily the abbreviation. So I always find that this is helpful to have a copy to give to my scribe, just so if you're not clear on something, you can read what it is, or again, depending on the compulsory exercise, if you don't hear a comment, normally after the fact, if you have something written down, I can figure out based on which compulsory it was, what comment I meant to put there. Again, comments are secondary. The score is the most important thing to get on the score sheet. But again, this is available in the rule book for anyone to reference. So now we're looking at a freestyle score sheet. This is for the lower levels again, which is what we're going to start with. And what we have, again, general competition information, judges' signatures here. This box is basically where you are going to keep a record of the exercises that the vaulter has performed. At the end of the performance, which is a minute for individuals, the judge is going to give you 3 scores: content, performance, and then the horse general impression. Over here we have our shaded areas. Again, nothing needs to be done from the scribe for this. That will be filled in the scoring office. So what happens as the vaulter, at this level, there is no degree of difficulty score. And so as the vaulter is going through the routine, a lot of judges, not all, but a lot, choose to use the letter X as opposed to using the DOD abbreviations. So this vaulter has started her performance, and the judge says X3. And that's how you're going to write it. The 3 will probably be a little smaller, but you write X for exercise, and then there's a small number that the judge gives you that you put to the right of that X. What this means is if this was a standalone exercise, this would have been given a 7 overall. So this is the deduction from 10 is what that is. When you spend the 15 minutes with your judge, they're going to tell you exactly how they want you to handle this and what needs to be done with these numbers after the vaulter finishes. So again, this is the lower level freestyle sheet. So this is the score sheet for bronze and above. And you can see that we have added a 4th score called degree of difficulty. So what we will do as the vaulter is performing, there are 4 letters that define degree of difficulty. R for risk, D for difficult, M for medium, and E for easy. So instead of writing X on this score sheet, you're going to write one of those 4 letters, and the same thing with the deduction. So after the vaulter has completed their go, we will fill in these 4 scores. Again, the shaded area is handled by the scoring office. So that wraps up our Scribing 101. Again, I emphasize how important it is to come a little bit early and spend a few minutes with your judge just so they can let you know what they expect and you can have any questions you have answered at that time. Again, thank you for volunteering to be a scribe.